Hello, everyone. We're happy to have Laurent Irgolic here with us today. Laurent, thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Nice. So my first question is, what sparked your interest in investing in crypto?
Entrepreneur in the fintech space, where I started building a mobile banking platform. And when the idea of having a native digital currency that could feature on a mobile banking platform, the interest and so it was sort of a perfect match at the time. Despite that, I think both crypto and even mobile banking in some parts of the world are still ahead of its time. Because since then, it's just been it's taken me on a wonderful journey, and I finally have had the opportunity to work full time in the crypto space, and that's something I'm very happy about. So it's never a dull day, and it's always very exciting on a political level, but also on a daily basis. There's always something new to keep you interested.
Okay, great. And how do you approach researching and analyzing cryptocurrencies before making investment decisions?
So from an investment standpoint, I think traditionally speaking, you always start with 2 points, right? It's going to be looking at the fundamentals and then looking at the technicals. So from a fundamental perspective, you really want to first start by going through and checking the validity of the project, looking at is it legitimate or not, since there are a great deal of scams out there and a lot of projects that really don't have a lot of traction. So you want to really follow the founders. A really solid project, for example, would be Eigenlayer. And Eigenlayer would be a very good, clear example where you have very strong fundamentals. There's a high degree of transparency related to the project. And then, of course, then looking deeper into the general value proposition and what is it bringing to the cryptocurrency ecosystem. So that would be the first point of call. Second, then you have to look at, okay, do you have a token or not? And if you do have a token, then you really want to ask yourself, okay, what is the token itself doing? And this is also, again, a little bit more of a fundamental analysis, looking at the tokenomics of it, in which case a utility token has a very strong value proposition versus, let's say, a pure governance token, whereas the utility behind the token definitely creates the need for a demand for the token in terms of its overall use case. And so those are really the two things that I would look at on a fundamental side. When I look at it technically speaking, then you're going to start, then you have to make a decision. Okay, I'm going to invest in the protocol. Maybe I will get an airdrop, or maybe I'll buy it on an exchange and hold on for dear life. Or I'm actually going to think about investing post that period, in which case you'd want to start looking at more technicals, doing more of a technical analysis of the overall token, and then saying, okay, is it overbought? Is it oversold? In which case you're taking a little bit more of a trading sort of angle to say, when is the best time to actually invest in this kind of token, given the overall market from a macro perspective, and then saying, okay, is this now a reasonable project to invest in? But that decision, the technical aspect, is really rooted in first understanding the fundamentals and knowing if it's a real solid project or not. You have to be really prudent, I think. And so a lot of tokens, for example, where the protocols are fantastic, so the protocols are doing great, but the tokenomics is a little bit outdated. That doesn't mean that because you have a fantastic protocol that the token itself is still a worthy investment.
And what factors do you consider when evaluating the potential of a cryptocurrency investment?
Very simply, I would look at the total supply of the token. So is it fixed? Is it capped? Is it not? If it's not capped, then I definitely say, okay, because if it's not, then you're just going to end up with a hyperinflationary token. And then its value is going to trend closer to zero.
Can you share some of your most successful crypto investments and what led to their success?
So I would definitely have to pinpoint Ethereum as one of the most successful investments so far, as well as Bitcoin. But that is primarily just because they are the two market leaders in their respective segments. I do put both of them in different segments based on what I would call a global crypto taxonomy. And those two, I think, have really outperformed in terms of their resilience in the market when it comes to the overall downtrend. So I wouldn't just look at the upside, I will also look at how a token performs on the downside to really establish a solid picture of what makes a healthy investment. So, Ethereum and Bitcoin in both respects was purely just a matter of having the liquidity to buy and invest in those tokens. And those are definitely the two that I would recommend to anyone who wanted to try to dip their feet into cryptocurrency, because it is not a get rich tomorrow idea. It really is a long-term investment, and I think that's where we will see the most benefits from the cryptocurrency experience.
How do you manage the risk associated with investing in crypto?
I think that really comes down to your own personal risk tolerance. And so managing risk, it really is the name of the game. And you should never invest anything that you yourself cannot handle. And by that, I mean, you should always make sure that you have a roof over your head. You can forecast that if anything was to happen, you and your family are secure. And then anything that you would deem as excess, I would then allocate potentially to investing, in that case, investing in crypto. And so that's the first point of call. Second is to say, look at establishing a basket of tokens that you believe in. Doesn't matter how much you have to invest. It really is just philosophy, and saying, okay, I'm going to allocate half of it to something that I know is going to be successful, something that I know is going to be resilient, both in the uptrend and in the downtrend. And that would, let's say, be Bitcoin and Ethereum. And then you can say, okay, I'm going to take another part of my portfolio and I want to invest it in other projects that I have a strong conviction in and that I've done my research in, and perhaps I want to try and outperform Bitcoin or Ethereum, which is incredibly hard to do, but maybe some people have that affinity. So, allocate maybe a small portion of your portfolio there, but never invest more than you yourself know that you cannot afford, to lose in the event the market does go down, because it will take another year or two or more before the market can return to its current level or the price that you may have bought at. So will Bitcoin hit another 100,000 and exceed the 60,000 high from 2021? I like to think so. But that's going to take another 2 years. So, or however long it takes, I don't know. But yeah, don't invest that whatever you know that you cannot stomach at the end. Yeah.
Thank you. That was a great answer. And what resources or tools do you rely on to stay informed about the crypto market?
I'm very lucky to be working at Bitcoin Suisse. It was one of the most established players in the currency space. So being full-time in cryptocurrency means that I have access to information on a daily basis. It's part of my job, an area that I take a very keen interest in. So staying abreast of all of the latest news is definitely one area where you will definitely gain access. If you want a deeper insight into individual tokens, then you're going to have to do your own research and make sure to read the white paper. And if you can, reach out to the founders and ask as many questions as you like, or even amongst your colleagues, because everybody does have a lot more insight than you may think you have. So having people to talk with about the subject is a very nice way and crypto is one of those spaces that are so broad. It's not possible for everybody to know everything about every token. It really is very specialized in many different respects. So that's one. To stay abreast of the market, always look at the chart. One of the things that a typical trader would assume is that everything is already priced into the market. So whatever is going on is going to be basically in the market, and I would definitely check the price charts to try and get some insight as to what may happen in the future or what has already occurred at the moment in time.
And how do you stay updated on the latest developments and trends in the crypto industry?
The latest developments and trends is really tough, but I must say that Twitter is the best place to be if you want to stay abreast on what's going on in real time. I think the acquisition from Elon Musk has definitely put Twitter as a leading platform for freedom of speech, but also has put the platform in a position where it has attracted a lot of enthusiasts for cryptocurrency, get the latest news rather quickly. And so that's one. And then, of course, news channels would be a second.
And what is your opinion on the potential impact of government regulations on the value and viability of crypto?
So, the question with respect to governments is twofold. To have government support is really going to bring about mass adoption a lot quicker. And what we've seen so far is that you have two ends of the spectrum. You have those like El Salvador, which have embraced Bitcoin, and then you have the likes of other nations that see Bitcoin as a threat, where it has been completely banned. It really becomes a very philosophical discussion around what is currency. And that is the question I think people have not learned, they haven't been taught, and they need to question and find out for themselves. Because since you were a child, you went to school and maybe you bought something at the shop and you didn't really question it. Money was always there, currency was always there as a medium, as a transaction, and it was always provided for, or at least in our life, provided for simply just straight by the government, right? But now with the emergence of crypto, it's really creating a different dynamic. Who owns it? Who controls it? How is it governed? And all of these questions are really can be perceived as a threat to government supremacy, or it can be a liberator for governments. And I think the government is really in a very strong position to make this a reality and make crypto a reality as an alternative investment asset, as a reserve asset that can strengthen the currency of government currencies. So the government has a number of different cards that it can play. And I believe that if cryptocurrencies were to be a reserve currency asset for central banks, then you would definitely potentially see that fiat money, fiat currency may have more hard truth to it than it currently does. And so I don't see any harm that can be done to the fiat currency system, provided that there's an inlet or cryptocurrency within it where they can coexist in a similar way to how you would have a coexistence of gold and fiat currency back in the day, or the gold-backed currency back in the day. Effectively, whatever's held as a reserve asset is what's backing the fiat currency that's currently being printed to a certain degree. And the inclusion of cryptocurrency in that portfolio of the central bank will definitely strengthen, not weaken, but strengthen the currency of the central bank itself for each and every individual nation. This is more of a game of cooperation on the part of the government than it should be one where it's about keeping cryptocurrency out. I think keeping cryptocurrency in will create opportunity rather than take opportunity away. So the government really has to adopt the right framework. And that framework can be, do you want to create legislation that is all-inclusive? And so the idea from the government perspective is to let the existing laws and rules create this framework in areas where it does not fit, or maybe it's gray. That's why we have the litigation process to iron those creases out in the event those areas arise, and then in the future. And so it really is one of the mechanisms, I think, that really give Switzerland a little bit of an edge, because it means you're very fast to react, but then it's also rather inclusive as well, where it's not a gray zone. You allow for investment, you allow for discovery and experimentation. And so that's why I think Switzerland has definitely been a country at the forefront of crypto adoption, and so does the central bank. But remember that the central bank governor is employed by the government, or the government is the one who elects him. So while the central bank is supposed to be a separate entity, if the governor is elected by the government, then there is some relationship between the two entities as well.
Okay, so I have last question for you for today. And what advice do you have for someone new to crypto investing?
Somebody new for crypto investing. I've had these scenarios come up once before, and I've really tried to go back to the answer that I gave earlier: is don't invest what you cannot afford, to lose. Second is don't invest in something that I think you don't understand in its totality. Now, while cryptocurrency is a very complex subject and not many people fully understand how it works and how it functions, I do believe that if some of the biggest cryptocurrencies haven't failed today, then they're definitely not going to be failing anytime into the future. So I'd say dollar cost average on a weekly or on a monthly basis, and stick to something that you are comfortable with. And so that can only leave you with Bitcoin and Ethereum.
All right. Thank you so much. It was really a pleasure to talk to you today.